Hey, what's good, fam? It's your boy here, and we are back for some holiday cheer because we just got the Winter Eikpyrnir. Probably the best Grand Hero Battle Tempest Trial unit of all time besides maybe Marnie. I think personally they're both tied. Marnie does have one advantage, which is scoring, but functionality-wise, I think this guy is tremendous. One of the most insane free-to-play units ever. So if we go ahead and take a look at his stat line here, we've got 46 HP, we have 48 attack, 20 speed, 48 defense, and 28 res. Gives him an overall BST of 190, which is a little unfortunate. Like, it would have been nice if he scored just one bin higher. If they had given him one single extra stat point, then the super boon would have pushed him into the 195 bin, but unfortunately not the case. So scoring is really the only downside to him. He does have one super boon. It is on defense, so getting plus defense is actually huge on this guy, considering the way that his weapon works wants him to have a lot of visible defense. So if we go ahead and take a look at his weapon real quick, Delivering Antler, 14 might, 1 range, grants a flat defense up 3, which is, again, very good because he wants a lot of visible defense. At the start of turn, if he's in 2 spaces of an ally, then he grants attack and defense up 6 and bonus doubler to unit and allies in 2 spaces for 1 turn. R.I.P. Baby Frederick. No longer is he the free-to-play bonus doubler granter. Then also, if he's in 2 spaces of an ally, and if those allies in 2 spaces have any active bonuses on any of their stats, he gives an additional +3 to those stats with a max of 10, which makes sense because right now the highest blue buff you can even get is +7. So even if this was higher than 10, it wouldn't matter anyway because you can't even get that high. Okay, then also, if he initiates combat, or if he's in 2 spaces of an ally, he inflicts a penalty on the foe's attack and defense equal to 6, plus 20% of his base defense at the start of combat, nullifies the enemy's attack and defense bonuses, nullifies his own penalties to attack and defense, gets a guaranteed follow-up, and then he gets bonus damage plus X, where X is the highest total bonuses among himself and allies in 3 spaces. So just a tremendous weapon, one of the best free-to-play weapons ever. Like, we have everything we could possibly want here. Insane amounts of support, insane amounts of combat potential, a ton of really cool, like, middle fingers, like, nullify the enemy's attack and defense bonuses, nullifies his penalties to attack and defense, all just very good things. And it continues to also give him the Cavalry Beast transformation effect, which is perfectly fine. I mean, we don't really have a problem with that. It's one of the better ones, actually, besides the infantry one that gives you tempo. But we'll certainly take the Cavalry Beast transformation effect. Then for his kit, he also comes with Smite. He's got Solid Ground 3, and then he also has Breath of Life 3, which seems to be alluding to them wanting you to give him Solid Ground 4 and Breath of Life 4. Maybe when we get the Tier 5 Solid Ground, that'll probably be his optimal A skill, but for the time being, you can use Solid Ground 4 or a bunch of other things, which we will mention later. Okay, so there we go for his base kit. I wanted to do a little comparison between him and the Mythic Eikpyrnir now, because they're not really all that different. A lot of the weapon is actually completely identical. There are 3 points that are different, though. The Mythic one has Canto 2. He's got -1 special trigger. And then he also has this, which I failed to mention on the Datamine video. The Mythic Eikpyrnir has damage reduction based on 50% of X, where X is, like we said before, the highest total bonuses on him and allies in 3 spaces. So a little bit of non-pierceable DR, which is actually pretty good. That's the most relevant effect that is missing from the Winter Eikpyrnir, unfortunately. But we'll still take the rest of what he's got there. It's all really good stuff. Okay, now for a quick stat comparison. You know the Grand Hero Battle Tempest Trial unit is slapping hard. If we are showing him off against one of the best Mythic Hero releases of the year. He doesn't have any contemporaries that I thought were suitable to show. Maybe, like, Halloween Yarn. I guess we can pull him up. Yeah, let's pull up Halloween Yarn, because he's the only other possible, like, beast cavalry type that we've gotten in recent times. So this guy gets 5 Dragon Flowers. So here's the stat comparison. Eikpyrnir's got 47 HP, which is tied with his Mythic version. The Mythic one gets 5 extra flowers because he came out prior to Brave 8. So he got a little bit of a stat jump there. And then Yarn, I don't even know why I pulled up Yarn. I guess just because he's the most recent beast free-to-play hero. But Stat-wise, they're going to be very different because this guy is a speedster and this guy is more of a offensive brawler. Going to have a lot more attack and defense than speed. Okay, so again, with the Mythic versus the Tempest Trial version, Mythic Eikpyrnir's got 49 attack. They both tie on attack, 49 each. The Tempest Trial one has more speed by 3 points. This one, the Mythic one, has 18 points of speed versus 21. They both tie on defense, 49 apiece, and then the Mythic one has slightly more res. The Tempest Trial has 29 res, and then the Mythic one has 32. Shouldn't be that much of a difference, only 3 points, which is not the biggest deal in the world. Maybe on like certain builds it might matter a little bit, but not really, to tell you the truth. All we really care about here is attack, defense, and I guess HP. So, compares very favorably to the Mythic one in terms of stats. Okay, next up, scoring, which, like I mentioned earlier, scoring is probably the only downside to this guy. He doesn't score high enough to be arena viable, which is very sad, but I guess it is what it is. So Yarn scores in the same bin, the Halloween Yarn, so we're going to use him as the proxy. So 760 is his overall score. Doesn't even beat Cyril, man. I love how Cyril, all these years later, is still the benchmark BST for arena viability. They really stand the hell out of Cyril when he came out. So Cyril scores higher. Panette and Marnie, of course, score higher. They are the highest scoring free-to-play units in the game. So poor Eikpyrnir can't compete in terms of score, but he overcompetes in every other aspect. So now let's go ahead and wrap up. Let's take a look at the builds for this guy. There are a lot of possible skills to give him. He's got like just a litany of all sorts of different possible effects you could get. Lots of support, lots of debuffing potential, lots of DPS potential, all-around potential, omni-tank potential. Like, there's so many builds you could go with. Here's the first one. This is more of an all-arounder type of build. So we've got fortifications here, which is good because it's raising his visible defense. Like we said before, that really helps on his weapon getting more debuffs to the enemies. So fortifications makes a lot of sense. Also, when he initiates, it's going to give him a lot of defense and true DR against enemy specials. Then he's going to set up the stone tiles, and then also it gives him distant counter. So it's your one-stop shop all-around ace skill for him, I would have to say. Sturdy Beast is definitely going to be the special, coupled with the Sigurd Ring for the bonus movement and the Canto 3. So a very good combination there. Gets non-pierceable DR and a shitload of mobility. Momentum 4, very good as well, because that's going to allow him to ramp into his specials a lot better. As we know, he doesn't have -1 special triggers, so the momentum pulsing is going to be very useful. Also, it just gives a load of bonus damage. And then Barricade, which I think this guy is probably the best user of Barricade, actually, because it's Warp Bubble, essentially. 3 spaces for melee, but the full 4 spaces for range, which is very good. Then it also gives support to allies in 3 spaces, neutralize their defense and res penalties, and then also give them drive, defense, and res. So Barricade is a very good skill to give him. Then we've got Attack and Defense Clash as our Sacred Seal here. You could go in 2 different directions. If you think it's going to be hard for him to transform, then you can go for the Beast Sacred Seal. Otherwise, though, if you think he's going to transform very easily, go for Attack and Defense Clash. And then Guard Echo as the seal. You could go for Distant Counter Echo, but Fortifications already has Distant Counter, so might as well just inflict Guard on the foes and get a little bit of DR. Alright, this one is the DPS build. So this time we're going for Marth Ring as opposed to Sigurd Ring. Very important because we need to get -1 cooldown on Blazing Wind. Beast Threaten gives us another -1 cooldown, and it also debuffs the enemies by 7 defense and then inflicting panic, which is very good. So that's -2 so far, and then Momentum gives us the final -2 to get our Blazing Wind off. If we move the full 3 spaces, then it's -2, otherwise it's -1, which, him being a Cav type, it's very likely he's going to move 3 spaces. And then Solid Ground, of course, because we need the visible attack. And currently there's no Tier 5 Solid Ground, unfortunately, but we'll definitely take Solid Ground 4 for the time being. And then Squad Ace CD3 here gives flat HP up 5 and then attack and defense up 3. You could also try Life and Death, I guess, or wait for the Solid Ground 3 Sacred Seal, which is eventually coming, because we already have Still Water. So just a bunch of possible options for future upgrades, but for now, I think this is fine. And then Deathblow Echo just to add to that DPS. So we're going to be the muscle-bound deer dude that everyone loves and just pound the enemies into the dirt. All right, next up, we have a support build, the first of two, because there's a lot of different support options with this guy. Like I said, he can do so many things. He can debuff, he can go for stat boosting, he can go for positioning antics. You're going to see it all here. So this is the first one. We have Rally Up Res because his weapon gives attack and defense up 6. We can get speed up 6 with infantry speed tactic and also null follow-up to infantry allies. Very good support. And then Rally Up Res just finishes it off and gives all allies basically all stats up 6. So there you go. The only one who isn't getting speed up 6 is him, which he doesn't even care. Like, speed is not even a thought for this guy. So all other allies getting all stats up 6 with bonus doubler with +3 to all stats even further. Very good stuff. Then again, we have the Sigurd Ring and Sturdy Beast. I think it's his best combination. Attack and defense XL just in case. Like, if you want the combination of power and also defense and tanking, XL is definitely your best bet. Speed and defense ruse here because we can go for a rally and then hit the enemies that are lining up with him for speed and defense -7, and then also we inflict guard and schism and discord and all that good stuff. So a lot of debuffing going on there, which is very good. Once again, attack and defense clash, but feel free to go for the Beast Sacred Seal. And this time we can use this encounter Echo because we don't have fortifications here. And the final support build, this one is more for mobility. Like, a unit like Felix would actually appreciate this very well. So we can go ahead and run Reposition here. It's sad that he doesn't get Reposition Gate, but, I mean, Reposition is still basically just as good. So we want to reposition an ally. We're going to inflict speed and defense snag on the enemies, which is basically speed and defense -7 and sabotage. Lots of really good debuffs going on there. And then we can position an ally into a better spot. Then with the Kanto we get from the Sigurd Ring, we can use Shadow Shift to reposition somebody else, namely Brave Felix, who will then not be affected by his Beast skill not working when he gets hard repositioned. This is like fake reposition, so you can bypass Felix's little detriment there, which is nice. And for the rest of the kit, we're just running like a bunch of different stuff to show off different options. Earth Fire Boost is also good on him. Gives him guard and then a flat HP 5 and attack and defense up 7 in combat, which is good. And then Squad A CD, again, HP up 5 and then attack and defense up 3 and distant counter, just in case you need him to fight. But with a build like this, you just want him to support and mess around with mobility and shenanigans. So there you guys go. Those are all of the builds for Eikpyrnir. He's got a lot of options, obviously. He's a very, very solid unit. Very well-rounded and with a lot of possible options. So the sky's the limit. Just go ahead and feel free to use whatever you want. So this is your boy Tacho signing out. Hope y'all enjoyed it. And I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.